What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining us on another FCP Euro DIY. Today we're going to be working on a 2015 BMW 328i F30. Today on the F30 behind me, we're going to be covering a pretty common problem, which is going to be a failed door lock actuator. This is going to be applicable to your F30, F31, 32, 33, and your 36, and probably a few more F chassis out there. But for today, the focus is going to be the F30 on the passenger door up front. Typically what happens is the internals on these can fail, and they can fail in different ways, whether it allows you to lock the door or not, which is what happened in our car. We can no longer lock it. Oftentimes the release on the interior handle won't work, or the release on the exterior. So it can be one of 3, 4 different things that can fail. So in the case of our vehicle, you cannot lock the vehicle whether you're using the fob or you're pushing down on the lock button on the actual door card. It doesn't work, it's jammed up inside. So we'll show you how to replace this. We have a couple other accoutrements on the table which are nice to have, but not necessary. And that's gonna be the insulation for the door. These are like thin foam. And oftentimes what happens is when you're pulling them away from the door, the butyl tape is pretty strong. And if you're not being gentle with it, these are pretty easy to rip. So if you're worried about ripping them, these are also linked in the video card below, available on fcpo.com, as well as the clips for the back of the door card. We have a couple different flavors available on fcpo.com, some with insulation, depending on what you want to get and what's in your budget. But we have X amount here on the table. That happens to be 14. I don't think we're going to need very many of them, but they can break, especially as they get older and brittle and cold and hot. It affects the plastic. So now we know what we're going to be working with today. Let's take a look at some of the tools we're going to need for this DIY. For this DIY, the parts list is going to be minimal. We have a long flathead screwdriver, a T30 and a T25. We're using drivers for these today, but a small socket attachment on the 1/4 inch would also work. We have CTA 5170. This is a trim removal set. You don't necessarily need the whole set, but we have different options to work with. So we have different tools to choose from depending on what we're going to be removing. A small razor blade is going to work as well, and a magnetic tool for some of the hard to reach hardware. Now we know what we're working with. Let's go ahead and get started on this DIY. All right, we are over at the passenger side door. We're ready to get this door panel off. First things first, make sure your glass is all the way up, especially before you remove the window switch. With that out of the way, we're going to start by tackling the handle door trim. We're going to grab our trim removal tool and just kind of work it up at the top between the leather and the plastic. Just be gentle. Once you start lifting it up, you can get a finger behind it. It's just a couple metal clips that hold it throughout the handle. But work it up slowly. You don't want to yank it off, and you certainly don't want to start from the bottom either. There is a small hook, which I'll show you in just a moment. And that one kind of comes out forward, and it's this one right here. So this one keys in to the back of this little metal tab, and then you just pull it forward and out. So we can set this to the side. Before we remove any hardware, we're going to work on the window switch next. Same deal. This one you only want to start lifting it up out of the handle from the front side, closer to the speaker. The back side has 2 small tabs that go into the back of the armrest. And if you pry from here, you're just going to bend them and break them. So with that, let's get our trim removal tool and get that front one out. Here are those 2 back tabs we were talking about. Those key into here. And here's our front tab. If you can get the tool on it, you can see a little bit of red from our pry tool. Pushing in on that, it's going to help release it up here. But you have to dig pretty significantly to get to it. You can see it's not right up top. So it could be a little bit challenging. Definitely use plastic trim removal tools. Don't go in with a flathead. You're going to scratch up your leather and or the switch. We have a little cable at the bottom. We're just going to go ahead and pull that out. Now with that released, we can set this to the side. All right, with the trim removal undone and the switch out, we can handle the 2 T25s that sit behind the door handle trim. Just using our T25 driver to get these babies out. Sometimes you might need a magnet tool, or you can just let them live in here until you pop the door card off, but that can often send them flying, so just be mindful. Now we're going to work our way around the door card, popping the plastic rivets down from the bottom getting a good grip on it, and then we can start pulling the card away from the door, and then we'll lift it up gently, clearing this lock button, if you will. So, trim removal tool. Now, as we get to the top, we're gonna wanna kind of lift up and away, and that'll clear this. And then on the back side, we have a couple more connections to get rid of. You can either release the door handle, the interior door handle release from right here, or at the actual unit, which we're gonna be replacing, which is what I'm gonna opt for now. Simply pulling this down and then up and over. So just to show you again, we'll show you again when we install it, but it just hooks onto this top piece, pull down, and then push it back up. So pretty easy and straightforward. And then we don't have this hanging around when we remove the actuator. Back on the door card, we have a plug for the lighting on the door card. You can see the light strip right there. Same thing, we're just gonna pull down. We have the harness for the window switch. We're just gonna pull that through. And then we have a little expanding rivet here. You can either choose to walk the tape off of the clip, or you can just gently walk the clip off, which is what we're gonna do here. Then we have one more connector. This is gonna be for our floodlight. You can either push the little tab here on the end and pull the whole light as one, or you can just release the connector, which is what we're gonna do. Now with this free and release, we can set our door card to the side. So let's do that now. We're gonna work on disconnecting the electrical connector to our actuator. There's a very tiny little tab on the bottom and one on the top. You just pinch them and get that connector off. We'll try to do our best at that with these hams that we have. All right, now we have this off. I'm just gonna tape the harnesses out of our way, just like so on the door card, so we're not fighting them as we remove this insulation. So let's do that now. Now comes the tedious task of removing the insulation, soundproofing, weather barrier, whatever you want to call it. This is where you're going to want to take your time, work super gentle. So take it nice and easy, wear some gloves if you don't want the butyl tape sticking to you. I recommend a small cutting tool so you can cut the butyl. You're not going to hurt it. It's still going to be good to reattach to when we start reinstalling this once more. But this will just make it a little bit cleaner and easier to work with. Now we have our barrier off. When you go to set it down, just be sure you set it on the non-sticky side so that you don't ruin this seal. We can reuse this no problem. And we still have some left on the door behind, which will help guide us back on. So that's gonna be good. So we're gonna set this over to the side, and then we're gonna get into some tight quarters, disconnect a few more things. Let's get to it. Here's a look at our new actuator. This is what we're looking at inside the door. So this right here is our up and down, lock and unlock. That's gonna be this baby right here. This inner piece, if you will, the washer that this sits in, rotates. That allows you to rotate this however you need, so you can pull it out and pop it out of the lock assembly, which in our case is dancing around on us right now. So just to show you what that looks like, it's gonna go in, all the way in, and then it's in. So for now, we're gonna pop this one back out, but just so you can see what that looked like. On the bottom side here, this is the latch for the interior door handle. That's this one right here that we took off when we first took the door card off. On the back side, which we're gonna get to in just a moment, you have the exterior door handle release. That's this one right here. And on the inside of this, we also have this opening right here. This allows a plastic clip, which you'll see on the inside of the door, that has a harness running through it to clip in. So that's the view you're gonna have. You're gonna wanna pop that clip out towards the exterior of the door skin, and then we'll have this to release as well for the exterior door handle. So now we have that out. Let's reach inside and work on the rivet and then the door release. First, we're gonna work the expanding rivet off. Come on, get out of here, baby. Just using a flathead, twisting it left and right to get that to come out. See if we can get the flathead in between the split on the rivet. To release the outer handle cable, you're going to want to grab whether from the bottom here or the center here and pull down on the whole thing, just so that you can pull it then forward and release it from the assembly down there on the bottom latch. And then the top one is just press fit into the metal. Just grab it with 2 fingers if you can and pull it towards you and it'll come out. Just like that. So just to reiterate, this white piece, you're gonna pull down and then towards you, and then the top portion of it is gonna be press fit into the metal clamp. Now with that, we can remove the 3 T30s and get this old actuator out of here. Now we're gonna remove the 2 T30s at the back. We have one on the front side, so let's get those off. It never hurts to pay attention to the alignment of the old actuator in the door. There's really not too much adjustment here for these. There is a special BMW tool that is designed to adjust the receiver or striker receiver portion of the actuator, but to be totally honest, neither you nor I, nor maybe even BMW really has that or has ever actually used. So if you've used that tool before, let me know in the comment section below. I'm curious. Now I'm just going to grab the actuator on the inside so it doesn't fall down. I don't suspect it will. The gasket that's been on there is probably going to hold it. Yeah. So we might have to push it away from the door. But we're going to reach in, give it a nice push, and then gently work our way out of here, being mindful of the harness that we just separated from it a minute ago. Just like we had an opening on the side here for the wiring harness that we saw running through the side of it, there is also, surprise, one more at the bottom. So be mindful of that one. Get that one off before you unbolt it. I genuinely missed it, but we can get easy access to it now that it's loose inside the door. So maybe it helped us. We have a small opening here on the back side that we can get our flathead into to pop it out. But yeah, 2 spots, one at the very bottom, one on the side. It's a little bit tough to see on there. Give me a break, my good people. I'm doing my best. Just gonna use the flathead to help pry this clip out, similar like we did to the one on the side. I would almost argue it might be easier to do it now that you have an easy reach for it. So to better show you what the heck we just did in there, this is how it sits up against the door. By the grace of Casper the Ghost, you just wiggle it around. The goal is to get it facing like this. So basically upside down with the wider portion between the window regulator and the door. And then once you get it facing like this, you can basically pull it out, wiggle it out like this, and out it comes out. So you don't have to mess with the window regulator at all or any of that nonsense. So here's our old unit. Let's get this baby out of here and let's just get our new one in. So just how we removed it, we're gonna pretty much install it backwards. So the latch portion of it's gonna be facing towards the front of the car, and that's how we'll get it in and rotate it around. So it just takes a little bit of patience. That's all. It's not too complicated. The top side of the door seems to have the most amount of room to get this new actuator in. There we go. All right. Now we're just going to rotate it to where we need it. Plastic rivet that holds our harness in place. That was the last one we just undid. Just going to be right here. Oh yeah, you heard that? I heard that. That was good. All right, now we can start positioning this better. Let's get this baby lined up. Make sure you're not pinching the harness anywhere. Stick your head in there, get a good look. You're honestly gonna do most of this kind of blind, but with our harness clipped in at the bottom, it shouldn't be in any danger. So I think we are looking good. All right, now we have a new gasket that we're gonna be fighting, so it's not gonna wanna seat up as easily to the inside of the door as the old one did. So we're gonna kind of have to use the hardware to help snug it in. So right now I'm pushing it towards the back of the door so I can get this side T30 started by hand. All right, we have our 3 bolts snugged up. Before you close the door to make sure this is aligned or anything, don't forget you need to be able to release it. So hook up one of the handles if you're trying to test things before you put the door card back on. So we're gonna go ahead and hook up the exterior handle release cable now. All right, let's get that clipped in. And then just to get a feel for it, let's go ahead and close it. All right, well, at least we'll know we'll be able to get back in our door. So now what we can go ahead and do is get the electrical connector hooked up on the front side if you want to test the key fob, make sure that the actuator is actually working. But I have no doubt that it's going to work. So with that, let's continue on. Let's get the hook for the unlock and lock tab back in next. I'm going to hook this baby back up. Just pushing in, make sure you line up your inner, we'll call it this little cylinder with where your rod is going to be so you can push it in, and boom, that's good to go. And then this harness, we're going to swing it down once we get our barrier back in. So let's do that now so that we can seal this up and then get this hooked up and go from there. All right, at this point, the barrier is ready to go back in. So we're just going to very gently take our time, be gentle. We're going to line this baby up using the old butyl marks, making sure that we kind of get it back exactly where it was. You don't have to press it down all the way just yet until you're 100% certain that you have it where you want it. Okay, now with that, we can go ahead and plug in our new actuator. We'll just take this tape down, clip this baby back in, and now, while I have you here, let's take it for a test drive. Let's grab our key, close this baby up. See, right now it's unlocked, or locked now. Let's unlock it. Oh yeah, baby. Now we're freaking cooking with security. All right, now that we've tested our actuator, it works exactly like we wanted it to. That's awesome. The last step is going to be to get our door card over here. Check for any broken clips. If so, we'll go ahead and replace them. We'll show you how to do that. We'll get everything hooked up, pop this baby back on, and wrap up this DIY. All right, so here's our door card. You can see the spots where the body panel clips or door card clips go. In this case, we have one that's missing here, which I heard break when we pulled off the door. It actually might have just fallen out. You can go ahead and pop this one in. You can tell this door card has been off before by the array of mismatched clips. There we go. So you just pop these in. They just key in and out. Pretty straightforward. Now, before we get too carried away, we also have to remember we have the interior door lock, door handle release as well, so we can't forget that baby. But let's work our way backwards. This is going to be the connector for our floodlight. I can prove it to you because it just came on. Get this baby closer. If you remember, one goes through the opening right here. This is going to be for the window switch. And that one you can see once you get the door card back up, but it's going to come right through here. No problem. And then we have one more plug up here for the interior lighting. So that one can just go in as well. These plugs only go in one way, so it's pretty hard to plug these in correctly in. And we have our plastic rivet, which was sitting right here on the inside of the door card. Just pop that baby back in. And now we have the interior door lock release that clips in over like so. pull down on that baby, and then back in the hole, and you're good to go. Just be sure not to pinch this when you put it back together. And then you just want to line up the clips with the holes along the inside of the door. Don't forget about this bad boy right here first. So get that one hooked up over the top. This one has some decent flex in it, so it's not going to be too hard to work with. You also have these 5 metal clips up top, just to give you a better view. Those are also going to clip in to this ridge right underneath the armrest portion of the door card. So pretty straightforward stuff. Once you get 1 or 2 of these clips aligned, whether the top ones or the plastic ones on the side, the whole thing kind of just falls into place. Check for any gaps. Once you get those situated, the door is going to feel nice and firm. That's going to be nice. Obviously, we still have 2 T30s to put in, but now we can do our window switch, so let's do that next. Now we can just plug this baby in. There we go. Feed in the rear section of it first, and clip in the front. Beautiful. All right, we're going to start with the T25 at the bottom. All right. Beautiful. That's just checking that the inner door handle is working properly before we get carried away to the very last step, which is going to be the trim for the door handle. So let's grab that one next. Now we're going to go ahead and install our door handle or grab handle trim. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs, 5 with the hook at the bottom. And we have 4 metal clips up top here for those tabs, and obviously the metal tab down here for the hooked one. So once you get those all lined up, it should pretty much self-align itself. Just get that bottom one started, and then it's going to slide back just a hair into the door card. And then you can kind of peek and get these lined up over here. Just gently work it in. Beautiful. And with that, my good people, that is going to conclude this DIY for today. Again, similar process on the majority of the FX models, or F3X, we should say. The rear doors are going to be a little bit different. If you're looking for a DIY on that, let us know in the comment section below. Maybe we'll go ahead and do one for you. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, leave those in the comment section below. And if you like this DIY and you want to see more like them, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.